This realize it's not very aesthetic, but you can see like the pillows underneath these. And you flip that. That would make me mad if I'd left that, so I'm sorry. I finished Chain of Iron last night, and I think it's like at least a 4.5. I loved being back like with some of these characters. Even though we saw some of these characters in the last series too, I just like love being back with them. They make appearances. Pretty much it's like the kids of the Infernal Devices, and that's really exciting, so I love that series so much. So I heavily enjoyed this. I think it's at least a 4.5, but I need to spend it a little bit longer, I think, before I come to like a concrete rating, you know? And I've been reading the reprints of Rachel Price all on audio today, just like while I've been out and about. It's Friday. I'm already filming this at like 10:30 pretty much. I worked my first job, went right to my second, and there was no physical reading done like at all today. It was all on my audiobook, and so I didn't get this far so far. And I have about like 260 pages left. I actually think more than that, actually. Like almost 300 pages left, but it's okay. So I'm pretty much just gonna sit here and binge this and finish this off. And if you're keeping track, that means with getting the one book ahead on Wednesday, which is my last reading vlog, I do have to read, I think, 4 books tomorrow. And I work, but just in the morning for like a couple hours, or more afternoon, like 12, something like that, for a little bit. So the plan is wake up early, read at least a full book before I go to work, if not more. I think I should read almost like a book in a bit. We are finishing this challenge wrong. I don't care. I've never failed this challenge, and we're not going to start now. One thing about me is I'm stubborn to a fault. I will not fail this challenge just because I'm stubborn. I'm going to read 4 books tomorrow. Just you watch. I'm also going to finish this. So maybe I'll actually start another book tonight too. Take a little start, get a little head start if I can. We'll see how this goes and like where I'm at, but it's almost done, guys. One more day. I'm definitely gonna take it a little bit easy next month, I feel like, but this has been fun, so I'm excited to see how this all plays out. Alright friends, we have some windows open, so I'm sorry if you guys can hear some noise, but it is now Saturday, so the last day of this challenge. Update on last night is the sun is like really hitting my side bad, I'm so sorry. The update from last night is I did finish 3 Prints of Rachel Price. That was like a grind till like almost 1 AM to finish that one, I'm not gonna lie. Time really got away from me a little bit, but I think I'm gonna rate that one like a 4.5. Somewhere in there. I gotta sit it a little bit longer, but today's been good so far. I do have to go for a little mid-afternoon shift at work. It's very short, shouldn't be too long at all. But this morning I did already finish a book, because if you guys haven't keeping track, I have 4 books today. This vlog is pretty much a readathon. So what we're doing today is like, woo, all day readathon. But so I already finished a book this morning. I read Oodie by Freida McFadden because I wanted something like quick, easy, I could like binge and get through. And I've heard that is a good one by her. It was entertaining, but like everybody says, there's like some plot holes and things you actually have to like, you're just there for the vibes with Freida. That's what it always is, I feel like. You're there for the vibes. Don't look too far into things or you're not gonna make sense of it. But honestly, I think I'd give it like a 4 to 4.25. I think that was one of the ones by her I enjoyed most, or like thoroughly enjoyed. The last couple books I read by her weren't really hitting. I read Never Lie and I read The Teacher, and I despised that one. Huge ick, couldn't do it. And then I used my Kindle for a bookmark. I'd also start reading Night Road by Kristen Hanna before I left. The only 2 books I have now on my TBR for this month, because I gave myself some leeway. So the books I have left are Night Road and then Magnolia Park's Into the Dark, which is like a 600-page book. So we'll see if I read that tonight. I think I will if I get ahead enough. And then I decided for my last book, the 4th one that I'm going to read is Yellowface by R.F. Kuang. So it's pretty short, it's just over 300 pages. And it's on Spotify, so I listen to it as an audiobook as I drive to and from work. And that one is on my Kobo, so I feel like if I'm reading 2 physical books, so I have this one and Magnolia only in physical copies, then at least have another ebook to get me through today to kind of like get my mind, give me a break from like staring right at actual paper, you know? But so that's what we're doing today. I'm staying optimistic. I think I'll be home from work by like 4 to like 4:30 the absolute latest, and then we're just gonna have to grind. But I think I can do it. Let's stay positive here. All right, friends, quick update. It's 4:30. I got home a bit ago. I like always just like stay in my work uniform when I come home, so I need to get changed now. But I was reading for a little bit during the drive there and back, and also listening to my audiobook for a bit when I first came in the door. I think I'm on chapter 5 or 6 now of Yellowface, and I'm really enjoying it. And like I knew I would, because I love R.F. Kuang, but it's just like such different, like normally I read her fantasy books and this isn't. And I've heard it's amazing, I've heard great things about it, but I was just like, I don't think I was even hesitant to give it a try. I just kept getting bumped further and further back on my TBR. Does that make sense? And because I had it on an e-reader, not physically, I kept just forgetting about it. It's incredible. I'm really, really enjoying it so far. So we're gonna see where that goes. I think already it's a pretty short one. It says I'm already like 20% of the way through the book. And so I feel like I don't have much longer on that one. I made it to chapter 9 of Night Road so far, and I'm on page 123. So I have like, that's like a third of the way through, maybe a little less. I don't really know. I did the math though, and if I finish this and Yellowface, if I pick up Into the Dark, I won't finish it till about probably 1 to 2 a.m. And that's if I do like nothing but read for the rest of the day. So I may have to pick a shorter book for the next one. Or we'll see where I am when I finish these guys. Because honestly, like I've been reading really fast lately. I don't know what it is, but I've been like reading really fast. Especially on my e-reader, with Yellowface being on there. And I'm already like 20% of the way through. So I can probably finish that book in literally like an hour and a half to an hour 45 with the length of that book. And then we'll see, because I also read Magnolia Parks really quickly. I'm not sure if it's like the font and the spacing on the page, and the fact that there's like a lot of like text, like message breaks, but I read those books really fast as well. So we'll kind of see where I finish off. So I also have a vlog I have to edit, the one of week 4 for this challenge, and get it by tomorrow. So we'll just see. Anyways, I'm loving this as well so far. We are just going to keep on going because I have a long evening ahead of me. Let's go. Friends, I'm so torn because I've just absolutely powered through Night Road and Yellowface. Night Road, I think, is like at least a 4.5. I wasn't expecting it because like I said when I read Distant Shores, I love Kristen Hanna's historical fiction. That's like what that is what made me fall in love with her writing, was how she writes historical fiction. And this is another one that's not historical fiction. And this one, like the huge thing that drives the plot is our main character is at a party with her best friend and her best friend's brother, who's also her boyfriend. He's supposed to drive, he drinks, she decides to drive, she had at least one to drink, car crashes, kills her best friend. And it's pretty much just like her now navigating her grief journey, you know, what that looks like in the, what is it? The law. I just totally blanked on words. I have to say a word because it's too long. And it's more looking at grief from like all sides, like her grief, you know, her best friend's mother's grief, like all these different things are really focused on. And it was very interesting to read about. And I think it's like at least a 4.5, but it's definitely different than what I like originally loved from her. Guys, this is a ponytail right now. This is holding on. Sorry, it's so funny to me. Anyways, Yellowface thinks a 5-star. I think it's a 5. Listen, I loved it. Just period. Personally, we have Athena and June, and they're like acquaintances, I'd say, like friends from college, and they're both writers. One day they're like hanging out at Athena's apartment, they go meet there, and she ends up tragically passing away while June is there. June notices that she has a manuscript already written in her little writing area and decides to take it because that makes good sense. Which Athena is like a New York Times bestseller. She has so much success with her writing, and June published a debut novel that like flopped. Can't experience thing like success. And she takes this manuscript because Athena has like a really like private writing style. Like nobody sees anything until like a first draft is written or like at least pieced together. Like not an editor, nobody. And so she takes this and like submits it to a literary agent and like edits it a little bit, like publishes it under her name. I've only ever read fantasies by R.F. Kuang, but this touched like so heavily on like race and morality, and I love the morally gray characters R.F. Kuang writes, whether it's in fantasy or just in this one. I hated so much. I despise that woman. but it was incredible. But now the problem is I'm sitting here and we're already kind of getting to the hours of the night where I'm like, it's almost 9 o'clock at night. Do I start a 700-page book that I can, it would realistically take me like at least 5 hours to read, if not a little bit longer. So like, is that really smart? I do really want to read this though, and I'm not sure if anything else in my cart's really calling to me right now. I could like, because the thing is, this technically is the last book that I had on the TBR for this month. It's set on the TBR, and you guys know me, my TBRs, I'm a completionist. But would I rather just finish this challenge at a reasonable time, or finish this challenge with every single book I set on my TBR at 2 a.m.? I think I want the later, to be honest, because honestly, it's like 8:30 right now. I can do this. But this is absurd behavior. I do not recommend this at all, but I think I'm gonna start a 700-page book right now to finish tonight, after reading 3 books today, because I feel like I'm on fire. So might get some dinner, make some dinner, I don't know. And why am I doing this myself? It's fine, we're fine, guys, don't worry about it. Alright friends, please forgive me for this horrendous lighting. It's a couple days later and I'm finally ready to outro this video and technically the entire challenge. Even though I'm doing a wrap up coming out on Sunday, I believe, about just like every single book I read, like my full thoughts on all my August books. This is just about the last 3 days and what I went through in those 3 days. So let's get into it. I read one book on Thursday, and that was Chain of Gold, the first book in the Last Hours trilogy. And that one I think is like at least a 4.5. I loved like the references back to characters also that we love, and like seeing them a little bit, and now also with their kids. It was like incredible. I feel like always like the first book in her trilogies, I'm always kind of like just getting into it. Like so far, trilogy wise, typically the second book is like, I guess I can't say typically, in Beautiful Devices, book 2 is my favorite. That's like one of my the only 2 books of Alexander Clare I've given 5 stars to is Queen of Air and Darkness and Clockwork Prince. And Clockwork Prince is like my number 1. I was like so sidetracked, but so I have really high hopes for the second one, is all I'm saying. I have high hopes. Then the next day, I read the reappearance of Rachel Price, and so I did find very, very interesting. I do just think the ending fell a little bit flat, which is like, I don't know how to explain this, but it's one of those endings you didn't see coming. That doesn't mean I necessarily really loved and enjoyed it. I don't think it was a bad ending whatsoever. Just like the thing for me is like where my mind was going and the things that I was coming up with in my head. Not that they were like better, but I was like, oh my god, this could have gone like so many different ways. And while I do kind of like the whole lore of the ending, I guess you could say, it just wasn't the direction I thought it was going to head in. But I still think it's like at least a 4 or 4.25, I think. Yeah. Then I read 4 books my last day. So first one I had Oodie by Frida McFadden. This one I think is like, I think all these were like at least 4 stars. That one I think was a 4 star, pretty much flat. The thing with Frida is her books are fun. Just don't look too deep into anything, because you're gonna find plot holes, obviously. Very, very evident plot holes. But this is what I'd say so far, it's probably one of my favorites by her thus far. The one I've enjoyed more than this, I'd say, was the second book in the Housemaid trilogy, which I don't think is a very popular opinion. But like, the first one I was like, I don't really like it. The second one I loved. And the third one I was like, you know? I like my second Frida book now, to be honest though. I thought it was like a really cool, interesting concept. It's pretty much like, she's a med student. She has to spend a night in a like psych ward, like a very, very high intensity psych ward. There's like locks on all the doors. There's like really high risk patients, and she has to spend like the night there. The other book I read digitally was Yellowface, and that one is a 5 star. And listen, I knew it was going to be, but I kept putting it off because like, to me, I love R.F. Kuang's fantasy, and not that I thought it was gonna lack when it wasn't, but my thing is, it just felt like not random, but I was like, oh, it's not like what I'm used to seeing from them. And so like nervous to go into it, and literally within the first like 2 chapters I was hooked, and it's like now one of like my favorite books. I read definitely my favorite books I've read this year so far. Definitely one of them, definitely up there. I just think, like I've already said this before when I talked about this book, but it's just something about a morally gray main character that's like does it for me. And R.F. Kuang does them so well now, whether it's like fantasy or like literary, it doesn't matter. She's just, I love the woman. Next I have Night Road by Kristen Hanna, and this one I also really enjoyed. Like I touched on before, it wasn't like the historical fiction I fell in love with for Kristen Hanna's writing, but I think it was very well done. The thing that I think is at the core of all of Kristen Hanna's stories that just makes them so, is that they're all just like devastating. No matter what you read by her, you're just gonna be sad, but also have like this like amazing sense of like hope and uplifting while you read it. And I'm like, why am I gutted? But like being like, oh, this is great. I don't know. Anyways, this is probably like a 4.5. I think my favorite, no, actually Fly, I love Firefly Lane, but of the ones I've read from her that weren't exactly fully historical based, this is definitely very high up there. Not sure that made sense. I'm tired. And Into the Dark, I still don't know what it is. I'm still trying to figure it out. I think this was like a 4.75 or 4.5, and I'm trying to figure it out because the only book in this series that hit that 5-star mark for me was Long Way Home. And I'm trying to figure out what about that book was so much different than the rest of them. I think it's like the ending of that book, like sucker punched me, was what it was. And it's not that this one didn't, but like, I don't know, something about Long Way Home was this, but this one was still absolutely devastating. I do think it wrapped up pretty well. I'm like pretty content with where we've left off thus far, but then there's still 2 more Daisy Hates books coming out. I don't know when they're coming out, but I need them like yesterday. So if you guys did that math, I did successfully read 31 books in 31 days, which there was a time when I was in Florida and I was 4 books behind. I was kind of scared. I was thinking I wasn't gonna do it, but I did. So the full roundup's gonna be coming up on Sunday. I'm very excited. If you guys don't wait to see that, I do have already full daily vlogs posted on at Angel's Book Corner on TikTok, and that's where I did like little daily updates of what I was doing, what I was reading. As always, if you enjoyed today's video, please remember to like, comment, subscribe. It helps the channel out so much, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.